And we are live. One mind people. Eddie Anakin Skywalker, YouTube's chosen one here. My phone just went off. I am reviewing today the Netflix series that just came out recently on Jeffrey Epstein. And I watched the whole thing actually in one sitting yesterday. I was just doing some, what was I doing? Was folding clothes and just watching it and doing some other stuff, multitasking. So I was watching it though, and I wasn't expecting anything new in terms of new information from the front lines per se, and I didn't get that. But again, I wasn't expecting that. But what I did get was an experience that I think really tapped into the human side of the people involved in the entire case and just their whole experience that they had with it, whether it was the victims, the head of the police department at Palm Beach, detectives, media, journalists, of course, Virginia Joffrey. And it was just really interesting hearing their own kind of subjective relays of what happened from their own point of view. And the guy that stuck out the most for me was, he wasn't on that long, but I think it was in the third episode. There's, I think, 4 episodes or 5. And it was about the island itself, the pedophile island, or what's it called? Um, Little St. George's or something. But he called it Little St. Jeff's, I guess. And they interviewed the guy who worked on all of the telecommunications on the island for all the buildings. And this guy actually had an immense amount of power in the island. He's one of those kind of technological linchpins that everyone needs, in terms of, if you want to set up these encrypted communication networks. And he says this privacy was very important to Jeffrey Epstein. And that's what he said verbatim. And there are spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. I am frozen. Are you sure, guys? Let me see. Well, you can still hear me. I'll fix it later. So it was this telecommunication guy. They interviewed him, and he worked there, I think he said like 6 years. It was 99 to 05 or 06. And one of the pool cleaners said to him one day, "Why are you doing this?" And he answered, "I don't know, really, the money." And he said, "Do you have children?" And he said, "Yeah, I've got 2 daughters, 13 and 15. And the pool guy said to him, "Would you let your daughters come to the island?" And the guy, I think his name was Steve, he said, "As soon as he said that to me, I realized I wouldn't let my daughters within 5 miles of that man. I quit the next day." And it was just such a interesting part of the documentary, an aspect of one of the people who came in touch with Epstein's network and Epstein himself at such a close and really powerful level. And it also showed a certain degree of selfish naivety, maybe the phrase would be. Because, I mean, I'm sure he was getting paid well, and everybody's got to work for a living. But he wasn't really thinking that far ahead. It sounds like he was a guy who was good at his job and was disciplined and was more or less a very good guy, but he didn't think about second and third order effects like that. And that doesn't make him a bad person. Not many people have that ability to think about second, third, fourth order effects consistently. It's difficult. It takes time and effort to do that. So it just showed a really human side of a person who, although he was connected to Jeffrey Epstein's network, he wasn't really culpable in the same sense as those traffickers. But once he realized that he was associating with someone who he wouldn't let near his family, he cut that off. And it's just interesting because to some people, it might seem like an obvious thing to do. And their initial reaction would be to get kind of indignant and maybe angry at this guy for not quitting sooner. But not everyone has that sort of intellectual or ethical foresight. And that's not necessarily his fault. It sounds like he was a good worker, good at his job, good family man. He just didn't have that kind of uncoachable foresight in terms of those second and third order effects, like I mentioned. So, again, no new information, of course, as far as the case goes from that documentary. But again, I wasn't expecting that. I highly recommend that anybody go check it out if this sort of stuff interests you. It's only getting more and more widespread, this knowledge, and the people who are fighting these monsters are not stopping. And I consider myself to be on that team of people. It just resonates with me on many levels. It's really interesting, of course, but there's also the desire to protect children, which I think is the most obvious one aspect. But it's just endlessly interesting, stranger than fiction, no doubt. And I'll end it on that note. Highly recommend people go check it out. Another actually a critique I would have is the music, the intro music. They could have done a lot better job on the intro music. The images are good. I like the cinematography a lot, but yeah, the intro music could have been a lot better. Like the intro music on The Family. If you guys have seen that, I've seen a couple episodes of that. Phenomenal, really great. But on the other hand, the story itself and the episodes aren't as gripping as the Epstein Filthy Rich series on Netflix. So that's my review, guys, of this show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm on the move, as you can maybe glean from my current whereabouts. COVID roundtable tomorrow. I'm flying solo, and we will have more guests next week as well for the COVID roundtable. This has been my review of Epstein Filthy Rich. It's streaming on Netflix now if you want to check it out. Cheers, and until next time.